Hello, a 200-year-old Russian hatch leather? Yep, here's a piece. Sorry, wrong piece. Here's a piece of it. You see, I have two pieces here. One is over 200 years old and the other one is new. And there's a fascinating story behind these. So, 200 years old, how can I be so certain this bit of leather is more than 200 years old? Well, it was found by divers off Plymouth Sound in 1973. There was a ship which left Russia and it was bound for Genoa, the Metta Catharina, and it sunk in a very fierce storm. And in its hold it had a whole cargo of rolled up hides of Russian hatch leather, i.e. some of this leather. And what happened was it got auctioned off and various people got to use it and they made some lovely items with it, and the supply has now rather dried up. Someone very kindly sent me some offcuts that they had because they'd seen my film where I'm making leather wallets using this version of Russian hatch, which is the new version, and we basically did a swap. I sent some of the new and they sent me some of the old, and it's fascinating having a look and making a comparison between the two. So this leather, the original, used to be made in Russia, and the recipe sort of got lost with the Russian Revolution and it ceased to be made after the Russian Revolution. Prior to that, it had been made in lots of local tanneries, and even villages would get together and get reindeer hide and make the leather, and they'd infuse it with lovely oils, they'd vegetable tan it and infuse it with things like birch oil and what have you. And it's got a lovely smell, quite a sophisticated sort of Madeira, sort of sherry type smell to me. Not sweet, but very nice, very distinctive and quite appealing. I like it. Anyway, I've got various samples, so what I'll do, I'll give you a very close view of the samples and talk about those a bit more. There's a tannery in Devon, UK, which has tried to replicate this with help from lots of tanners around the world, and they've done an extremely good job of making a modern version. This has been vegetable tanned over quite a long period, I believe about 14 months, in various tree barks, so oak, willow, etc., and infused with birch oil. And again, a lovely smell. It's a stronger smell because it's been infused with the birch oil, but it's got very similar appearance in many respects to the original Russian hatch, and obviously it's been hand rolled in the same way to try and replicate that. This is the leather I'm using to make my wallets, so I've been taking quite a keen interest in the Russian hatch. Anyway, let's show you closer in and you can see some of the sort of similarities and some of the differences. So here are offcuts from the original Russian hatch leather, brought up from the seabeds that have been on the seabed since 1786 when the Metta Catharina sunk. And you can see it's off various rolls of hide. So the immediate thing that actually struck me was two things actually. One is how well preserved it is, and I think that's probably largely down to being infused with birch oil. It's a very good preservative, birch oil, and quite a few of my woodworking friends use it on things when they make wooden items. But that's one of the things that strikes me. The other thing that sort of strikes me is the variation both in colour and in the hand-rolled diamond hatching. So it's sort of that the hatching seems to vary. If I can pull out, well, first of all, the colour. Let's just look at the colour. You've got a whole variety of colours here, all sorts of shades, all a similar sort of reddish brown. It was typically made from reindeer hide. The new version of it is actually, I believe, oxhide. But yes, very similar in terms of sort of thickness, etc., but very different in terms of colour. The hatching has been done by hand, usually with a roller, so something like a brass roller. like I've shown you in the Walsall Leather Museum film that I popped up. And you can see, if you look closely, if perhaps if I zoom in even more, I'll try and get it so you can see this on camera. So this is, say, the 200+ year old leather. Diamond hatching on that one. Let's pull out another one. Bring it alongside. You can see they're using different rollers. Let's pull out another. So this one. That's a very square roller on that one. Yeah, it's less diamond shape and more square shape. And with some of them you can see where the edge rollers have been sort of running along the leather, because obviously you'd have a large hide and you'd have this maybe a brass or similar roller, which might be, say, a foot wide or something, rollering it, but it does vary across the hides quite a lot. Another one. So you can imagine it, can't you? All these little villages with their tanneries, tanning the leather. And I think in some cases it was village communities got together to produce some of the hides. But the rollering is very varied. It's all sort of hatch. Some of the offcuts I've got, they're so sort of damaged by the sea, being, as I say, underneath in the silt in this ship hold, that you can't really tell very well what they're about. Another one here that's very rough, both sides. But other pieces really is very well preserved. And it's quite remarkable to think that's been on the seabed. So there have been quite a few high-end leather goods made by very talented and skilled craftspeople, and the person who sent these samples to me, these offcuts, is an absolutely brilliant leather worker, producing lovely things. So that's the old. I'll bring along the new. So the new, this does vary from hide to hide. I'm just showing you one of the hides I've got here. But you can see the grain is slightly more, or the hatching is slightly more pronounced. But given the variation, it's similar, very similar. It's infused with birch oil, which will make it last, and it's got a beautiful aroma. It's an absolute joy to work with. You have to sort of take account of the hatching as you work on it, and work with the hatching and make sure you line components up to take account of the hatching. But I think they've done a fantastic job, and it's lovely to see this leather revived, because basically at the turn of the last century with the Russian Revolution, the recipe was lost, the leather wasn't made anymore. So it was quite an achievement. I think they spent about 4 years or so trying to recreate it. But this tannery down in Devon, UK, has done an excellent job of recreating, and it's an absolute joy when I use my wallet, and I know I've had customers saying how pleased they are with their wallets. They smell nice. When you use them, it gets a bit embarrassing. You want to try and sniff them, but yeah, very nice too. So this is the Russian hatch. Just thought I'd show it to you, share you, and let you see that leather, nicely preserved with birch oil, does seem to last and last. I've been doing a little bit of work making items with this original leather, and it is very interesting. It's quite a joy. It handles in a similar way to the new one, and you have to again watch the sort of alignment of the hatching. I'll do a film actually on making a watch strap from it, just to give you a bit of a sort of first-hand look at me actually using it. I haven't got much, as you can see, in terms of completely usable pieces, but they are literally just offcuts. But I think I would just about be able to manage some form of watch strap, so it'd be good fun. And I'll pop that up as another film. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next film. Bye for now.